my intro was amazing. I'll try to repeat it, but thank you so much all for letting me know that I was on mute. This is the last of our Career Launch 2020 presentations, and I want to thank you all so much for joining us. I'm seeing a lot of familiar names on the list. It's great to see you back for more. What I'm most excited about, however, is that in just a couple of days, we will be hosting our very first virtual fair at George Mason University. We cannot wait to get you in front of those employers and have you talking about jobs and networking and internships and so much more. So how about I kick things off with some housekeeping announcements, and then without further ado, I'll introduce you to my colleague, Victoria Suarez, and our amazing employer partner for this webinar, Dina Carter from FDM Group. So by way of housekeeping, this will be copied and pasted into the chat field for anybody who's having trouble hearing. Another good tip I'm hearing through the chat field is that if your microphone isn't connecting properly, you can always click on the mic icon and have it reconnect. I'll put that in the chat field also. But if at any point you lose connection, look for this phone number in the chat field. If you run into any technical difficulties while we're on the webinar today, please feel free to send them to me using the chat field. Here is how everyone's going to participate. You'll notice I've said many times, and it was on the opening slide, to please make sure you remain on mute. That's really important for the duration of the webinar today. We're going to be taking all the questions through the chat box, and you can see on the slide what your chat box looks like. If at any point you accidentally close it out, don't worry. This little blue icon, you can click on that and your chat box will reappear. It's very important that all of your questions are directed to all participants. Not only will that allow our panelists to answer, but also myself and my colleague, Christy Michaels, who's on the line. She's going to send a chat out right now so you guys can all see her name. We will also be answering questions. So if it's not labeled to all participants, then we won't be able to answer it, okay? There may come a time where one of the panelists asks for folks to raise their hand by way of a polling measure. If we want to know how many of you have done this or how many of you are comfortable with that. You'll see on this slide where the hand raising icon is located. And we ask that if you raise your hand in response to a question, that you then remember to lower it, so that way we don't count you twice for the next poll, okay? All right, so that's all I have. I'm next going to say a great big thank you again to my colleague Victoria and to Dina for joining us today. And with that, I'm gonna pass the controls over to them, and you guys are gonna learn so much. I'm gonna learn so much, I can't wait.
Thank you, Mary Claire, this is exciting. Thank you so much for inviting me to be the presenter for this particular workshop. Really excited about sharing this with everybody. Can you see my screen?
Not quite.
Can you see my screen?
Not quite yet, Victoria. There you go. Now it's there.
Now it's there. Okay, wonderful. So thanks again for inviting me. And as everyone on the call now knows, it's extremely important to practice a little bit with your technology, because even seasoned veterans like ourselves, once in a while, take just an extra minute to get set up. So this is excellent practice that you logged in today. So what we're going to be talking about today is the virtual career fair that's coming up just around the corner, and that is going to be in about a little more than a month from now. And we have some helpful tips to get you all the information you need to have a successful event. As Mary Claire said, it's not just myself on the line. We asked an employer partner to join us, and she actually has been at the career fair in a recruiter capacity, so she knows about making a good impression on recruiters. Mary Claire started with some housekeeping. I'll do a bit of the same. Let me make sure we're all on the same page and that you have some of those basics down. By the way, does everyone have something to take notes with? Piece of paper, a tablet, a cell phone? You're going to hear a lot of really good information. Christopher, thank you. You're going to hear a lot of really good information today. I want to make sure you're taking advantage by writing it down and keeping it somewhere. Okay, so first things first, when is the career fair? When is the job fair? It is on Thursday and Friday, June 18th and 19th. So it's a 2-day fair, and I wanted to point out briefly that the 2 days do not start at the same time. Note that the first day will start at noon, and it'll be a 5-hour event, but day 2, Friday the 19th, is from 10 to 3. So we're going to start a little earlier on the second day. Also, there are some differences between being at a virtual job fair and being at an in-person job fair. So I'm going to address those with you today. One of the first differences is that there is a need to register. So you'll see on screen today that there is a registration deadline, and the deadline is June 15th at noon. If you fail to register in time, you will not be at this particular job fair. You will not be able to log in. You will not have an account to do so. So the most important thing, if you only remember one thing from today, you need to register. It is the most important thing. This is the first difference. Registration is mandatory. Where do you register? Right at the bottom of the screen. You can see the website is listed there for you. Everyone on this call is likely familiar with Handshake and everything that it does. But for this particular event, we're going to do something also on Jobs Connected. So please write this down, screenshot it. Also, if you'd like a copy of these slides, we can get those out to everybody as well. But this is where you'll register. A couple of quick things and we'll move on. You will need 3 items to register. First thing, your name. First name and last name, super easy. Your Mason email, so the @masonlive.gmu.edu. Everyone that registers for this particular job fair needs that Mason email. You'll also, the third thing would be a password. You'll need a password. You'll need to create one. This is not your Mason password, so please do not give Jobs Connected your Mason password. This is your first name, last name, your Mason email, and a new password that you create and you write down somewhere. Starting to sense a theme here. You're going to write down this new password so that you have access to it when you need it to log back into Jobs Connected. It only takes a minute or 2 to register for the fair, so please, before the end of today, hop over there and register.
Hey,
now,
Victoria,
what happens? Go ahead.
Can I jump in with an important clarifying question? Because I'm thinking about this too.
Please.
Full Mason email, or are you allowed to shorten it to the @gmu.edu, or does it need to be the @MasonLive?
Well, I would say do the Mason Live.
Go with the Mason Live, guys. That is a great question. What if you're a Mason alumni and your email is no longer active?
Okay, so we do have links available for people from the Mason website. It's the Mason ITS website that could help you to either reactivate that, but I saw Antonio ask that question. If we have an alum on the phone today and you're thinking that you don't have access to reactivate it, please email us at careers@gmu.edu and we will get you those instructions. Yeah, so I mean, the thing is this, .gmu.edu emails, and I don't want to get off on a big tangent about this, but .gmu.edu is for staff, right? And Mason Live is for students. So I see that as being one of the questions. So once you register for the Jobs Connected platform and you get in there, what you're going to see is this. This is the home screen for Jobs Connected. Today, I want to walk you through what this looks like. The more you know about the experience, the more comfortable you'll feel on a day of the event. So when you get into the Jobs Connected homepage, what you're looking for at the top right-hand side, it says Career Fairs. Do you see that up at the top? Career Fairs. If you hover over it, by the way, this is a screenshot, so I can't actually show you anything dynamic. But if you were to hover over career fairs, it will drop down with George Mason University. You'll click on the name of your school, and then you'll be taken in to the actual portal. Beginning on June 4th, so you will not do this until at least June 4th, and what you will see is you will see employer pages. So you're logging into the Jobs Connected website, you're going to the career fair, you're clicking on George Mason University, and this is what you see. Again, what you're seeing today is a screenshot, which is why you're seeing another school's name and not ours, but this is the landing page. And it's very important that once you get here, you're going to get information about the job fair, but you're also going to see at the bottom of the page there what every one of the employers who's registered is hiring for. I believe that's most people's question, right? Which employer wants to meet me and which employer do I want to meet? So what you're getting, a big difference with a virtual career fair, is that 2 weeks before the event, you're going to have access to start engaging with employers and seeing everything that they have to offer. A big difference with a virtual career fair. So what we're going to see at the bottom of the page is what they're hiring for. So you start to look through the different job functions and you will click on them. And what happens when you click on a job function is you'll be taken to a cluster of employers and you'll be able to select one of the employers that you'd like to research a bit more. As an example, in this particular case, Honda was at the career fair. And so now we have a whole bunch of information about Honda, such as open jobs and internship opportunities. So on this employer page, you're going to see jobs and internship opportunities, any type of company literature that they've left there for you. So if they wanted you to read about their retention or about their company culture or about their benefits, they can leave all that information right there on the employer pages beginning 2 full weeks before the career fair. So you're going to start this process earlier than June 18th and 19th. There'll also be videos as well as a resume drop. This is another really important difference between a live career fair and a virtual career fair. Now, in person, if you'd like to hand your resume to an employer, you'll walk up to their booth, right, and you'll hand it to them. It's a little bit different in a virtual career fair. In order to give an employer your resume, you need to link to the resume Dropbox, which means that you're going to submit your resume through this link. All the employers will have a resume Dropbox on their employer page. When will you submit your resume? Either before the fair, during the fair, or immediately after the fair. It doesn't make any difference, but you want to hand off your resume in a resume Dropbox. So you will see that right there on their employer page. You can't miss it. Any questions about that, Mary Claire?
We're getting so many questions, Victoria, which is really great because that means people are really paying attention and wanting to do this registration piece right, which is critically important. And that's a big change from a lot of our events. Do students get any sort of confirmation? Some students registered with their gmu.edu address and now they just want to be absolutely sure that it's been counted. Is there a way to know?
Sure, let's do this. You'll see on the career fair page, if you were to log into it there at Jobs Connected, that it actually gives you an email address, which is careers@gmu.edu. If you're someone who's concerned that you're not properly registered, please send an email and we will give you confirmation. We have all the names and email addresses with career services, so we know who registered. We're happy to do that for you to make sure you have a spot at the fair. Thanks for asking. Resume drops, I just wanted to give you a little bit more information because this is critical. We do not share your information with the employers. We're not going to tell them who is at the event. We won't give your name and your email address out. So if you want to give your information to an employer, you need to get to the resume Dropbox. They will be advertised on Jobs Connected. So you will see a link that says resume drop on Jobs Connected. When you click that link, it's taking you into Handshake. So you're still going to submit your resume via Handshake. Jobs and internship opportunities advertised on Jobs Connected, when you click them, will still take you back to Handshake. Pretty straightforward, but I just wanted to let you know that both platforms are going to be involved at certain points in this adventure. Another very significant difference that I'd like to point out about a virtual career fair is the Q&A section. Typically, when students or job seekers are looking to talk to an employer, they have to wait to the day of the fair, right? This is not the case with this virtual platform. What you're going to be doing is, beginning June 4th, if you were to click on the button at the bottom, that big blue button that says Q&A, you could leave questions for employers. You can also read what other people have asked employers, and you can see the employer responses. Another major difference with this particular career fair is that there is no hiding of the information. If you ask a question on that Q&A section, it's visible to everyone. And that's on the day of the fair as well, which I'll tell you about very shortly. But it's so cool that you can ask questions so far in advance. You don't have to wait to get some of those answers as you do your research. Day of the fair. The Talk to the Employer button at the bottom of the page will go live on the day of the fair. So what you'll see beginning June 4th through June 17th is you will only see the Q&A button at the bottom. June 18th and 19th, you'll see the blue button Talk to the Employer go live. And what happens when you click on that button? Yes, you're going to be talking to the employer. So pretty exciting stuff. That's what you signed up for, isn't it? So what happens when you're talking to the employer? This is what it looks like. On the day of the job fair, when you log in and you click Talk to the Employer, this is what your screen will look like. On the left side of the screen, you will see a chat box, and you are welcome to chat away with the employers. You're welcome to ask questions. You're welcome to engage and get involved. That is what this whole thing is about. You want to make a great impression and let them know you're interested. Make sure you get all your questions answered. So that can happen in a couple of ways. One way that you can engage, of course, is what I just told you. It's in the chat box. But it's definitely not the only way. You can also see that you can make your video camera visible, and then you can chat with employers this way as well. And at the very top of the screen, I don't know how big your laptops are or your iPads, mine's kind of small, but you can see a little green button at the top. This is your microphone, so you're turning your microphone on, and then there's a green button at the top as well for your camera, so you'll make sure that that's on. One thing I do appreciate about Jobs Connected is they give you a warning. It says, do you really want to make your camera visible? And if you click yes, then everyone in the room, including the employers and other participants, will be able to see you. And you'll be able to see people too, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands that. Anything that you put in the chat box, anything that you say on screen, all of that is visible. There's no way of hiding it. So just be aware as you're sharing your thoughts and questions that you're aware that other people are around you and they're listening, which is totally fine. You're also going to be chiming in and listening to other people's conversation, which is a great way to learn. The major differences. What's the difference between live events and the virtual event here? Group communication. So everyone's going to be sharing ideas and networking. If you weren't sure, part of your attraction to the employer, right, a part of the reason that you might be appealing is because of the way that you communicate. So I think it's totally fine just to hear what other people are saying, and then also to engage and to network that way. Visible to all, just keep that in mind as you're putting anything into the chat box. Also, anytime that you come to a live event at Mason, you know that we give you a name tag, right? So that's always a big piece of coming to one of our career fairs. What's the name tag about at a virtual fair? You're going to have an on-screen name. So you registered for the career fair, right? Many of you, seem based on your questions, you've already done this. But you'll be registering for the career fair. You'll give us your name, your email address. But when you log into the platform on the day of the event, they'll prompt you, what is your first and last name? That name is what appears on screen. So if on that day you only want to give your first name and last initial, that's fine, but just make sure you put that into your name field on the day of the event. That is your name tag. And of course, another major, go ahead.
That's really important. I know there have been times where I've been trying to move quickly and just put in maybe my first initial and really regretted it later on. So everybody, please make note of that. Type in your name as you want it to be displayed for the employers. Victoria, I'm interrupting because we were getting some really good questions, and I don't want to move too far ahead about the chat feature with the employers and a little bit of what's preferred. The first question that came in that I wanted to ask is, do you think there's a preference for if it's better to connect via chat or via video and audio? Maybe that's something that we can address with Dina in a little later on. What do you think?
Yeah, you know, actually, Dina is so experienced. I'll let her take that on as one of the questions. But this is what I'm going to answer, is that if you chat with the employer in the chat box, there's a way for you to prepare answers in advance. So you can have some of your introductory type dialogue already crafted before the day of the fair. You can really perfect that and then copy and paste it into the chat. You can talk about your personal pitch. You can even craft that in advance and get it ready for the chat box. So that's one of the ways that it's beneficial. But if you're the kind of person who's really engaging and you really feel like it's going to be a big value add to talk on camera and your voice and all that, put that all together, I think it's going to leave a good impression with the employer. So I think either one will be fine. What I've heard, though, so far is that the video probably is everyone's preference.
That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for that. Another important clarification is that if you're using the chat feature, that it is a group chat and that everybody that's in that employer's room can also read what you've put into the chat field, correct?
Yes, Mary Claire, that is correct.
Okay.
But again, I think that that's a great value add. You know, sometimes you guys are in this line at a career fair and I can't hear what's being said, right? So when I get to the front of the line, I'm asking the same questions and the employer's repeating themselves again and again. It's great to be able to hear this and get some advanced knowledge as some of my colleagues are asking questions. This brings me to an important point. If there's 10 or 20 people in a virtual chat session and everyone's screen is up, we probably need to take turns talking. If someone else is already talking, don't interrupt them, et cetera, all those good manner type things. They're taking all that into consideration as they're evaluating your candidacy. So let somebody else finish what they were saying before you take your turn. Grid view. Have you ever been, you guys maybe already have started to do this now that we're all at home, but you've seen in some of those Zoom calls and such, there's 20, 30 people on a screen. If we're rocking, if we get up and leave, if I'm having side conversations with people, the grid view reveals it all. So that's how it's gonna look on screen. So just be aware that everything is visible. You can address the recruiters by name. Their name should be right on screen for you. So please make sure, you know, they first name, last name, that would be really important. And then of course, review your notes. You should have notes right in front of you, right? Because you have your resume with you, you have questions you want to ask. Be sure to review the notes and have those with you on the day of the event. I am preparing to turn this over to Dina because she's got a lot of really good information for you. But I want to go through a few more points first. Jobs Connected has sent over a tutorial. They have a walkthrough of their platform in addition to everything I've given you today. So I'm going to, as part of this slide deck, I'm going to send this out to anyone that registered to be a part of our event today on Handshake. We'll get an email, and in that email will be this slide deck. So you can click right on these particular walkthroughs. Also, something that Jobs Connected wanted me to share was that Google Chrome is the preferred platform. It's a preferred internet browser for their platform. So please make sure you download Google Chrome in advance of this session. A few other things. Please let your family know, let your roommates know that you are about to go into an event that's really important. This could be the location for you to get that really good internship or that really good job. So please minimize distractions. If you have other Wi-Fi in the house that's streaming, maybe turn some of that stuff off so that you're not pulling your resources and that everything's going right to this event. Minimize distractions, right? No dogs, to the extent that you can ask people to not be in the room with you, really important. And check on your technology in advance. Is your microphone working? Webcam, laptop? Close down all other browsers and anything else you have running in the background, and let your computer or your tablet really work on this event. So you want to minimize whenever possible. Students are probably already going to start asking, how can I prepare for the event? So Career Services has a host of different things happening. We have drop-ins daily. If you would like your resume reviewed by Career Services, I flashed a phone number up there on the screen. Please write it down. I said earlier, you have your notes with you, right? You're taking notes today. That's the phone number. This is the email where you can get an appointment to have someone review your resume. Also, you probably want to pull together your writing samples, some references. We'll talk about these things if you come in for an appointment with Career Services. Resume drops. You can begin to search for resume drops after June 4th on Handshake. So they're going to be on Handshake, right? But you can also go into Jobs Connected and take a look for resume drops and start submitting your resumes. And also, you should update Handshake and LinkedIn. Finally, Career Services has some preparation resources right on our website. I've just given the website link, but it's at careers.gmu.edu, and we have Career Fair Prep. A lot of really good information there that you can really spend the next few weeks getting everything you need to get together in order to be a success. All right, so that is that part of the presentation, and now I'm going to hand everything over to Dina, and she's going to walk you through some really helpful information about being successful at the virtual career fair. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Victoria, can you hear me? Everything good? All right,
yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Victoria and Mary, for having me here. I'm excited to be here with you today to provide a little bit of insight on virtual career fairs. I'm the campus recruitment manager at the FDM group, so I've been to quite a few virtual career fairs in my 2 years with FDM. And then prior to coming here, I also worked for a fully online university where we facilitated 5 or 6 career fairs a year for our students. So I have a pretty robust background. I was a part of doing virtual career fairs before virtual career fairs were necessary. So I'm hoping I can give you some good on what we're looking for on the employer side of things from you coming into a virtual career fair. So the one thing that I really wanted to point out is for a virtual career fair, how important your resume is than it would be in going to a career fair in person. This is your footprint that you're making for yourself. So make sure that you're taking advantage of the resources your career center is giving you with resume reviews and those types of things. You want to make sure that your resume really does accurately reflect how you want to portray yourself, because when you're not going to get an opportunity virtually to make as much of a connection as you would be in person. So you want to make sure that once that recruiter goes back and is looking through their resumes, they're able to remember you based off of the information that was on your resume. And this is also true of your LinkedIn profile. So a little tip is that when a recruiter's talking to you, especially if they're chatting with you and you may not be on camera, they can type your name into LinkedIn and check out your profile immediately. So make sure that that is polished and also an accurate reflection of your resume and also how you want to portray yourself. The other important thing for a virtual interview is I'm sorry, not a virtual interview, but a virtual career fair is your elevator pitch. You want to make sure that you have this ready and typed out, either in a Word document or somewhere where you're very easily able to copy and paste it into the chat so that that recruiter can see what they should be attracted to as far as you as a candidate. And then what you can also use that for is if you are chatting and you are on camera, you can use that elevator pitch. You can read it right off of your computer when you're talking to the recruiter. And that way you're not stumbling over your words. So make sure that you're prepared for that going into the day. You can also have a Word document that has other things, other accomplishments, other things that are maybe on your resume that you would want to bring up in a conversation so that when you are talking to a recruiter, you're able to call those things to mind really quickly. So one of the really important things for a virtual interview that is a bit different from the in-person interview is when you go to a traditional career fair and you walk up to a booth, it's pretty customary to maybe say to a company, can you tell me a little bit about what your company does? I'm familiar with your company. Can you talk to me about the positions that you're recruiting for? Since you're at your computer at a virtual interview, at a virtual career fair, there's really no excuse for not knowing the basic details about the company or the positions that they're hiring for, because it should all either be a part of their booth setup or you should be able to just pull up their website really quickly and take a look at their About Us page, take a look at the positions that they're hiring for, and know that information off the bat. It creates a situation where if you just log in and you type, can you tell me a little bit about your company? That recruiter may be typing for the next 5 or 10 minutes to try to get you all of that information, or they may copy and paste what's on their About Me page or what's already a part of their booth into the chat. So the important thing about that is to make sure that you're doing that research on the front end before you start any conversations with the recruiter in a virtual career fair. Make sure you're looking at the booth, looking at the website, looking at the jobs that are posted. And then to get that conversation started with the recruiter, have questions based off of that information. So things like, I saw on your website that your company is really involved in X, Y, and Z. Can you talk to me a little bit more about that? Or, I'm really interested in the HR assistant position that you have posted. Can you tell me some more details about what you're looking for the ideal candidate for that role? So make sure you're doing research on the front end and then using that to start the conversations that you're having with recruiters at the fair. And then, in my opinion, and this would be the biggest piece of advice I can give you, so make sure that you're taking some notes on this part, but the advantage that you're getting from a virtual career fair, as opposed to an in-person career fair, is that this is a much better opportunity to build your network. So if you've been to the other career fairs on campus and you go and you walk around and you meet employers and you take business cards and you stick them in a folder, stick them in your book bag, Then you might have a class after the career fair, and then you go back to your dorm or your home, and you pull out this stack of business cards or pamphlets or whatever. How much do you really remember about all of those people, um, all of the information that they gave you? What you do have the opportunity to do now in this virtual fair is take notes on who you talked to, what they said, what you're interested in, because that'll let you be able to follow up. So what I would recommend is make an Excel spreadsheet for yourself on your computer, have the company name, the person that you talked to's name, their email address, and some notes on the conversation that you had. Then from there, you'll be able to sort of document everything that happened at that career fair that day for you, and you'll be able to follow up with every single one of them, recalling exactly what you talked about with them at the virtual career fair. Then what you can do is you can save that document, save it on your computer or somewhere, and maybe you're not getting ready to graduate, or maybe you're not interested in a position yet, but maybe the next career fair comes and you can go and talk to somebody from that same company at that next career fair and refer to the conversation that you had with the other recruiter that you had spoken with. So you're having sort of this very historical documentation of the conversations that you've had with people at these different companies, that can help you sort of moving forward in your career and moving forward with other conversations that you're having with people in those organizations. It can also help you if you have the record of all of that. You can use their names and emails, go into LinkedIn and make sure that you're starting your network there. And you can even do your follow-up in LinkedIn as well. So I think that is the true advantage of what you're getting from a virtual career fair in contrast to a traditional in-person career fair.
Could I jump in and ask a question real quick?
Of course.
So we had a student that asked specifically about LinkedIn, and since you just mentioned it, how important do you think it is for the students to have their LinkedIn pages, and in what way have them available to show the employers at the fair?
So I think that they're very important. It all depends on what the context of your conversation is with that recruiter. If you're chatting and I can't see your face, I might want to try to pull up your LinkedIn profile so I can put a face to a name. If I pull up your LinkedIn profile, there's nothing on it, that's not going to be a good thing, and that doesn't help you in any way. If you come into this situation and you're in a career fair, I think that you should at least have a picture, something in your headline, and where you're going to school. You don't, as a college student, we don't expect everybody to have a ton of experience behind them, but it would be good to see that you've taken the effort to make a LinkedIn profile. Something else that I would say that would be important about your LinkedIn profile is the groups and the people that you're following. So if you're looking for a position in the IT industry, I might want to see that you're following thought leaders in IT, that you're following groups that are going to sort of provide insights on new technologies and those types of things. So I'm going to want to see that you're sort of interested in the industry that you're applying to. So I think that the groups that you're in and the people that you're following would be important as well. Does that help?
Absolutely, it helps. Thank you, Dina.
Sure. So the one last thing that I wanted to mention in regards to the virtual career fair is that you'll see on the side, and Victoria showed you this, that there is a group chat. Before you start your conversation with the recruiter, go scroll through the group chat and see what questions have already been asked. Because the recruiter, that's what I would want to see, right? I wouldn't want you walking into the room and asking me the same question that has been posted there 3 times, and I've probably copied and pasted the answer to it 3 different times to answer the same question multiple times. So definitely go ahead and sort of scroll through that and see if you can find the answers to your questions. With that comes that you're going to need to ask some pretty unique questions. So the questions that you're asking and the very typical questions that you might ask a recruiter or an employer, you may want to come up with something a little bit more creative than that for the career fair to help you stand out. Because if everybody's asking the same questions, there's no way for me to differentiate from you or another potential candidate. And so I think there were a couple questions about what is better, chat or video, and I can sort of touch on that a little bit. I would always say that video is better if and only if you're prepared for the video. So video would always be better as long as you are dressed professionally in a sort of professional location. I think we're all pretty flexible with the environments that we're in right now, just due to the current climate. But you know, you don't want to be driving a car or something like that where I can see some strange things, you know, in the background. So you want to be in as professional of a place that you have available to yourself. Be dressed professionally. Don't be trying to multitask or eat your lunch or carry on other chats while you're actually speaking to me as the recruiter. So make sure that if you're going to use your camera, you're not trying to multitask during our conversation. So I would say video 100% as long as you are prepared for the video. If you're not, and you're not able to do it without multitasking, then I would say, you know, chat is fine. It's not going to hinder you in any way.
Thank you, Dina. That's really important, especially because when you have different options at your disposal, you want to make sure you're using the best one.
Sure.
I saw a question come through, which is something that I would really love for you to address. What is the dress code for a virtual career fair?
So that's a good question. I would say that if you to have suit and tie, same thing that you would wear to a regular career fair, definitely wear that to the virtual career fair if you have that available. If you don't, then I would say just something professional. Like I have a black sweater on right now, and I would say that this would probably be perfectly fine for a virtual career fair. So I would say always sort of err on the side of more formal, just because there may be employers there that do prefer that from candidates. But so I would say as formal as you have available to yourself at the current time.
And I know there are a lot of running jokes about people in their, you know, suit tops and pajama pants and things like that, but you really never know what might make you need to shift in your seat or close the window. There are a lot of horror stories about people who thought that would be cute and it turned out to work against them in very bad ways. So just like Dina said, dress like you would if you were coming in person. And if all they see is from here up, then fine. But that way you're prepared no matter what happens.
And I think that can also make you sort of act the part a little bit more. You know, I'm sure not all of us are used to having their most professional attire on these days. So I think sort of getting into your business professional clothes, even business professional shoes, for women putting a little bit of makeup on or moisturizer or doing your hair a little bit. That can also help you feel more confident in the career fair, which can then come off to the employer. You know, we would like to see your confidence. So I think that could definitely be helpful to you, whatever makes you feel the most confident.
I completely agree. Let's get Victoria back in here. I have a question for her.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes, I can.
Yeah, but sure. I didn't want to move on without saying that it's incredible that we have access to an employer partner who actually has been to so many virtual career events. And so really, really appreciate that you spent your time with us this afternoon and shared these insights. I think the people that are on the line are benefiting tremendously. I see a lot of questions coming through, and just so that you know, we have built-in time at the end of this to make sure we're getting down to all those questions. So please don't feel like we're skipping around. We will be getting to your questions in turn.
Great. So Victoria, do you want to address any more of these questions now, or do you want to proceed with more direct information on resources we have available to help students prepare?
Yes, so let me just give a little bit more information and then we'll turn it over completely for the Q&A. Perfect. Okay, wonderful. So after the fair, we were talking a little bit about it, and I mean, I feel like Dina addressed it, right? It's usually you're walking around with those business cards. Well, after a virtual fair, it's a bit different. However, there are some things that still need to happen. You're applying for the open positions, so you either saw them on the website, on the Jobs Connected website. Now you're going back to Handshake to apply for those positions. submitting the resume drops. We are going to leave them open even after the fair, but not for a long time. Okay, there's no reason to drag your feet. If there's open jobs and you're interested, make sure that you're giving those employers your resumes. LinkedIn with the new employer connections, we just heard about that. And always, whenever you can, follow up with a thank you. Whether you're thanking them through the Handshake email connection that you have or on LinkedIn, let them know you appreciate their time, because they certainly have a lot of schools they could go to, but we have recruiters that want Mason talent, and so that's what they're doing here. So we want to make sure they know how much we appreciate their time. Few final thoughts. So you get to the career fair and it's 12:01 on the first day, and the employer you want to talk to maybe didn't log in yet. Give them a little bit of grace. It's all new to all of us. Just anticipate a delay. Maybe they're going to be 5 or 10 minutes late. I mean, hopefully not, but it could happen. You want to prioritize employers, right? So if there's 50 per day, can you see all 50? Or which ones do you definitely want to see? So make sure you're thinking through prioritizing them. I've been saying this the whole time. Take notes, bring your notes, your open Word document on your, either on your desktop or laying beside you somewhere where you have information at your fingertips so that you can quickly engage with employers. I feel like Dina talked about that for a while. At the career fair, we have a career services booth set up, so you can always stop by and ask us questions, but Jobs Connected is providing technical support. So if you're trying to log in and you can't, or even a couple days before the fair, if you want to ask them about anything that's on your mind concerning their support or a technology issue, I'm providing their email address on screen for you now, but they're providing tech support for you, and then we'll be there, our staff will be there virtually to answer questions. So I saw a couple of questions pop up about, this is my major, I don't think anyone's hiring for me, or there's no jobs for me. Those are the kind of questions you would bring to us at the career booth to make sure that we can direct you to the proper people who are hiring. Available resources are found online, but here are just a few of them. We have an entire area which I flashed on screen earlier, and that's the career fair prep resources. The career readiness guide can talk to you all about resumes and resume samples. If you'd like to have your resume reviewed, careers@gmu.edu, just send in your resume. We'll make sure that that gets in line to be looked at. Touring the Jobs Connected platform, and then a couple of other things here as well. So any questions? We're going to move on to the question and answer portion, and I'll let Mary Claire tell us which one is the best to start with, and then we'll get to them all.
Sure. Well,
do you mind if I jump in real quick?
Sure.
Just with what Victoria just said, there are Mason has a ton of resources for you, and I can tell you as an employer, we can tell the difference between the students that use those resources and the students that do not. So make sure that you're taking advantage of every resource that they have available for you, because it can only help you in the virtual career fair. So just to give you a little plug there.
I'm glad we gave you the space to do that, and I promise we didn't pay here to do that. Victoria, could you go back one more slide without messing up our whole WebEx? Very good. Of course. This was where a lot of questions were coming in. How can I get my resume reviewed? Which is a great question. You're listening to the advice that the resume is going to be a really powerful tool for you during this event. Here's what you do. And for those of you that are alum on the line, this is a service available for you as well. Whether or not you're 6 months out or not, we've made some special provisions for alum during this unprecedented time where we're waiving appointment fees, and we will look at your resume as well. So send it to this address. Please do so soon. If everybody sends us their resume on June 17th, we're going to have a lot of disappointed people. So try to send it to us in a good shape as soon as you have it ready. That's one thing I wanted to make sure that we brought up. Other questions, Victoria, unless you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to also bring to everybody's attention. I see some questions here. I think it's important for everybody on the line to understand how we selected the employers that are participating in this career fair. We actually have had a lot of interest in this particular event. A lot of people saying that they're hiring, a lot of people saying they want Mason talent. We only, and I probably said this already, but we only permitted those individuals who had internship opportunities and actual career opportunities available for you. So you should not be getting into discussions with people who are telling you, or with employers who are saying we're not hiring. That won't happen at this career fair because the people that have been vetted, we've seen their jobs are posted, and so that's who you're going to be engaging with. I also want to mention for the person who said that they're an event student, I wanted to bring that up. We do have employers who continue to put their jobs into Handshake. We do have a few people that are in that category that we're going to be welcoming to this particular event. So please hold tight. On June 4th, it'll become apparent to you who's hiring for that particular industry.
That's
Because
awesome.
again, it'll be on the employer page, right? So on the employer page, we've categorized them by who they're looking for and what they're hiring for. So it'll become obvious to you who you should be speaking with.
That's excellent to hear. We have another great question. Before we move too far on, Victoria, let's go back to the very beginning when we talked about the importance of registering for this event. I think many of the students on the line probably minimized our window and went and registered in the moment, which is awesome. Great work. You guys were listening.
Yay.
Please point out the difference between registering in Handshake and registering in Jobs Connect one more time, just to make sure we're all totally aware.
Yes. So anytime that you go to an event or to a career fair page in Handshake, there's a little button that says RSVP. And oftentimes you guys can see the other students or job seekers who have also already registered. That's on Handshake. You do that when you're coming to an event or whatever. But this is separate. This is the first slide that I'm going to go all the way back just because I want to put it on screen again, if that's okay, Mary Claire.
Yeah, let's hold it there because this was probably where we had the bulk of our questions was about registration.
So what you will do is you will go to this website, jobsconnected.com/GMU. And when you do, you'll be prompted to put in your name, your Mason email, and you'll be prompted to select a new non-Mason password. And then that's it, you'll be registered. You should get a confirmation email. So when earlier you were asking me about how do you know if you're registered, you should have gotten a confirmation email, first of all. And secondly, you should be able to go back right now and log back into Jobs Connected. So you should be able to use your Mason email and your new password you selected to log right back in. And you should see that screen once you do. So that's my indication that you've registered.
So hopefully that helps clarify things for people. If you still have questions about the registration, absolutely throw it in the chat field. We'll try to get to it. Real low hanging fruit. A bunch of people are asking when they'll have access to the slides and to the presentation. Every presentation that University Career Services puts out needs to be reviewed. That's a short process, but it does take us a couple of days. We're hoping to have information for you to follow up within a week's time. Okay, does that sound fair, Victoria?
Yes, and then what I was planning on doing, Mary Claire, is you told me that I believe we talked about the fact that I can see who registered for this event on Handshake, but also they would have entered an email address on their way in today.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so whoever entered their email address on the way in today, I'm going to send the slide deck to them, and I can do that here, no later than tomorrow.
There you go. So it'll be pretty quickly. One student wants to know, Victoria, is does the career fair end up sort of moving into a virtual interview platform? And by that, are virtual interviews possible on site?
So I'm going to say no, not in a traditional sense. And the reason I'm saying that is it'll be you and many other individuals in a room. Now, if for some reason you went to visit an employer and you were the only job seeker in that room and it was just you and a recruiter or you and a few recruiters, then technically, I guess it's more of a networking session. That said, I would be prepared to answer, if you're saying that you qualify to work someplace and you're interested to work there, they could ask you a technical interview question. They could potentially ask you something that is interview related, especially if you were, one of only a handful of people in there. But I would say it's more of a networking event than a true interview.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And remind the students on the line again where they can find the list of employers that are participating.
Sure. So once you log into this website, right? So if anyone already registered, you should be able to log back in, but not until June 4th, right? Because June 4th is when this goes live. At the top of this screen, it says career fairs. And the students or job seekers can click on career fairs, click on George Mason University, and then that's where they can see this, and all of the participating employers are here. Additionally, you can already start to see who we've approved for this particular fair in Handshake. It still works like a regular career fair as far as you filtering through employers. So you guys should be able to go in there today and see which employers have already been registered for the fair.
Awesome. Does Career Services have sort of preset questions that we could recommend students bring with them to help them kick off conversations with employers?
So we do have some networking questions, things of that nature on the website. I wouldn't say that they're necessarily career fair specific, but I can point you to those in the follow-up email that I send out. Will that be helpful?
I think it sounds like it, yeah.
Okay.
We also have that the practicing your personal pitch bookmarks. I'm sure that there's information we can send in the follow-up email that would address that. And you're right, it's good to have some questions sort of prepared so that you're not caught totally empty when it's your turn to talk to an employer.
Yes, and I just want to say, I mean, something I tell a lot of people I work with is, there's going to be genuine questions, like what is your true curiosity about working at that company? Is it advancement? Is it what skill sets you'll be developing? Who you'll be working with? Is there opportunity for travel? Like, what are your real questions about being a part of that organization? And so a lot of times just expressing true curiosity is a really good way to connect with other people and begin the networking process.
Yeah, if I could jump in there too, I would 100% agree with what Victoria said. It's great if they can provide you with questions that sort of pique your ideas as far as what questions to ask. But as a recruiter, I would prefer not to be asked the same questions over and over again. And I want to answer the questions that you legitimately have for me, not questions that you think I want you to ask me as an employer. So I want to know truly what your questions are about working at my company or doing this particular job, not necessarily what you think will sound good coming to an employer.
We've definitely heard that advice before, Dina, that a lot of times authenticity comes across so much more when an employer can tell that you're bringing your ideas to the table and not spitting off a preset list of questions. So use it to your benefit, but try to take what we give you as advice and put your own personal spin on it. Dina, maybe this might be a question you could answer. A couple of students have commented, like, will it be awkward if I'm waiting to talk to you? Could you sort of describe in your experience how that works? How long do students, I don't know if this is fair to put you on the spot to answer this, but how long do students generally wait in the fairs that you've experienced?
So I don't necessarily know that there will be a wait time. So I don't know if looking at this as far as like the traditional career fair where you're sort of standing in line, everybody waiting for their one-on-one time. This to me feels more like an opportunity for a group discussion. So we're having, when you log into the chat room, this is probably going to be more of a group chat that we're all having together. So, one of the students in the room may ask me a question and I may answer that, and that may produce a question from you that you can then ask me, and we can sort of go there with back and forth. But based off of what I know about the platform that we're working in, it doesn't seem as though this is going to be, me talking to you and then you moving on and then me talking to somebody else. It seems more of an opportunity to have a group discussion about opportunities with all of the different organizations. So I don't know that you should be too concerned with waiting around to chat with an employer.
That makes a lot of sense. If you enter, this is a great question we just got in. If you enter into a room and you find that a lot of the questions that you genuinely wanted to ask have been asked, what's the best way to be recognized and initiate a conversation without being repetitive?
So I think that comes in with the elevator pitch that you prepared, the positions that are posted, and then your elevator pitch as it applies to them. So saying something like, I see that you have a HR assistant position. I've had, these classes in HR. I've had this internship. I've done these types of projects. Based off of what you're looking for in that candidate profile, do I seem to be somewhat of a match, or is there something else I could add to my resume that would help me, as a candidate in that role? So bringing it back to yourself and applying it to yourself, and maybe not just making it sort of a general overarching question, but applying it to your own personal experience will give you the opportunity to have that one-on-one with the recruiter.
Also, I saw somebody had asked, is it okay to add us to the LinkedIn? And that's the purpose of LinkedIn. The larger my network, the more opportunities I'm going to hear about. The more, eventually when you guys go get a job and you post that they're hiring at your company, it's only going to benefit the people that I'm trying to assist. So absolutely, that's what LinkedIn's about. Link in with us.
Yeah, I love that question. Great thinking. That's absolutely what you should do. Victoria, is the list of employers participating final, or will more be added between now and then?
Again, I understand that, the job market is changing, but can I just say that every day, more than one employer, every day, over the weekend, at night, they are writing, we want to hire Mason talent. So the list is going to be updated because we continue to get interest. We are coming down to the line. We're almost at capacity, but we are continuing to evaluate the few final employers. So the answer is yes, continue to look because the list will change.
Awesome. I thought that's what you were going to say, but I wanted to hear it from you.
And I have to say something, Dina was giving you guys kind of an overview of like walking in and delivering this pitch. If you're thinking to yourself, it's so much easier to ask a question, it's because, as you're transitioning from a student into a professional, of course, it makes sense. It makes sense that you'd walk in a room and ask somebody a question that give you an answer. That's an engagement that you're familiar with. What you're not familiar with is marketing yourself. And our resources on our website address that. And if you were to come in and have a one-on-one meeting with us, we would address that with you. It feels abnormal because you're just getting out into the world, some of you might have already been out there, but marketing yourself is a big piece of this. If it feels abnormal, it feels unusual, it's just because you're not used to it yet. But events like this help you to get to where you need to be.
Tina, would you say there's been a time where you've been participating in one of these events and you found that students have stumbled onto taboo topics? Is there anything you could advise our students to stay away from, or maybe it's unique to the situation, or maybe it's just taboo for a fair in general?
I don't know that I've had any sort of taboo topics. Now, I have interacted with students who weren't prepared for the event, and that was obvious. And they came in and said, what jobs do you have for me? Things approaching a situation like that isn't going to make you stand out in a positive way to an employer. So I think making sure that you're prepared. I don't know that I would say taboo questions. However, in knowing that this is going to be a group atmosphere, just anything that you wouldn't want to put out to a group is probably not something to mention in this sort of environment. I mean, you'll have the recruiter's email address, and you can connect with them on LinkedIn and send them private messages that way if there are more private things that you wanted to discuss with them. But I think as far as being taboo, the only thing that I would say that would be taboo is something that maybe you wouldn't want to mention to an entire group of people.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of things that we hear from employers as well is that, they're really looking, they understand a lot of people at Mason studied these particular classes, this particular topic, but what makes you also different is your personalities and some of those soft skills that you bring to the table. So when I think about taboo topics, I think about getting in there and maybe not having the best attitude, about having a less than perfect internship experience, or maybe having a boss that didn't do exactly what you wanted them to do. You definitely don't want to talk about that stuff during an event like this. It should be towards positivity and growth mindset. You don't want to be thinking about some of those negative experiences. So, and again, if you're not comfortable phrasing these responses, that's what Career Services is all about. We're here to help you to make sure your responses are ready to go.
So we're coming up at the 1 hour mark. We have just a couple more questions left. If you guys are both okay to stay on the line, we'll hang out with you for a couple more minutes. Lots of great questions. This one I thought was important, and Victoria, maybe you could take this one. Because of the way you described so nicely how we invited employers to participate, and the employers that are getting the spots are the employers that are actively hiring, correct? So is this the right time for students who have not yet graduated to be coming to this fair? What would you say?
Yes. Yes. there is nothing but good things that can happen by going to a job fair. You are going to see how you're going to see people engaging with employers and say, I want to talk like that. I want to sound like that. You're going to hear about opportunities that you may or may not qualify for and say, I don't qualify yet. What can I do? I'm only a sophomore. I'm only a junior. What can I do to make sure I qualify next year? You might hear about other opportunities that you just weren't thinking about. You definitely want to keep an open mind. And I think that when you come see us as a freshman or a sophomore, we're only going to help you that much more. You don't have to wait till you've already graduated to access career services. You're welcome to come out all the time, and there's a lot of benefit to doing so. So to answer the question, I think that it's not just for graduates. There are opportunities that are for sophomore and juniors. Some of the employers have told us we're really targeting that population with what we're hiring for. So you're going to be surprised about the different opportunities for everyone at this particular event.
I love that advice. There's nothing bad that can come from attending. There's a student who's asked if the Career Services Office is going to be holding other career fairs over the summer. Don't want to speak out of turn, but I know we're always in planning mode. We certainly have a lot more webinars and a lot more events for employer interaction, like with Dina today. Though that I know for sure. They mentioned specifically the Education Recruitment Fair. And for anybody wondering about that fair specifically, there are some school systems that are going to be participating in this fair. So no, we are not repeating Education Recruitment Day in an online format unique like this, but a lot of them are coming to this event. Is that a solid answer, Victoria?
Yes, and the other thing I want to say is, again, all the time we hear about these hiring events that are happening. So as an example, tomorrow there's a hiring event. So one of my colleagues told me just yesterday that she found out about a hiring event that's happening tomorrow for George Mason graduates. So if you're not linked in with us, then you may not have seen it. If you're not on our website, you may not have seen it. You have to be connected with us. We have to stay in contact because we're constantly hearing about new hiring events and new ways that employers are trying to get to you guys. There are definitely more jobs than job seekers is what we typically see. We know it's a unique time right now, but there's still opportunity. So please stay together with us, get on our LinkedIn pages and let us share that with you. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with regards to tomorrow's hiring event, link in with me and I'll share it with you. I'll share it on my page today.
That's such a nice segue to one of the last questions we got, which is it really bad not to use LinkedIn at all? Which again,
Yes.
It's a really great tool. You miss out on so much by not being a part of it. And we have workshops and online tools dedicated to helping students build up LinkedIn accounts. Look for that if it's not something that you feel confident in building. Can alums still use career services for free? For right now, for the time being, we have waived all of our fees because of the unique situation that COVID-19 has put all of us in. So the answer for now is yes. That may not always remain true, but please give us a call, make an appointment, participate in a drop-in. We're unable to say how long that will last, but for the foreseeable future, and there will be a grace period. So for example, you won't make an appointment today and then next week I say, bad news, I need to charge you. If you make an appointment and it's in the free status, it will remain free. Hopefully that answers your concern. So let's see. One important clarifying question, because I just want to make sure that we don't leave confused. One student wants to talk about submitting resumes. Dina, we talked about how that was a really important part of this experience. Can you clarify for me, either Victoria or Dina, students won't be submitting resumes before the event. They'll be submitting resumes during the event.
No, I'm glad that you brought this up, Mary Claire. The way that this is going to work for this fair is when you go, and I have this on screen now, when you go to this particular employer page, like for example with Honda, if you scroll down just a little bit, jobs will be posted. If you were to click on the job and apply, you've submitted your resume. If you say to yourself, I don't see the job I'm looking for, but I still just want to give them my resume, you can go to a resume drop and just make the resume available to the employer. You could do it before the fair, during the fair, or right after the fair. We will leave it open for at least 2 weeks.
At least 2 weeks after the fair.
Well, at least 2 weeks in total. So you have at least a 2-week period to drop that resume off. Now, right after the fair, it's somewhat up to the employer how long they want to leave it open, but at least a couple of days, we're going to give a grace period there so people can continue to submit. Okay,
that's good to know. And just like hiring in general, if an employer finds a candidate that meets their requirements and it's only been an hour after the fair, then they're done. So it's definitely in your best interest to get it in when you're ready. Don't rush it, but when you have a nice solid resume and you want to submit it, don't wait. Is that good advice, both of you?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, well, are there any parting words? I think we made it through the questions. What an active group.
Questions.
Thank you all so much for those great thoughts. Any parting words before we go?
Well, I just want to thank everyone for being here. We're excited that you're interested in the fair. If you are a part of a group, or if you guys are a part of, student organizations, or you're friendly with your faculty or whatever, let them know about this fair. Let everybody know. There are a lot of opportunities, and we're trying to get the word out across campus. So please, you're part of everyone else's network too. So make sure you're leveraging those connections and pushing the word out, because we want all the employers to see all the Mason talent at this event.
Yeah, great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure being here. I hope it was helpful. And I know just by all of you being here, you're taking a step in the right direction for being prepared for the event. So appreciate all of you taking the time out today.
And likewise, we can't
For being
thank you
here.
enough for lending your expertise. Having a real live employer in the room really sort of adds an awesome level of insider knowledge. So thank you so much. And again, what a great group of students we had today. We had over 120 participants. So job well done, and everybody, good luck at the fair and have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Bye, everyone.